Hola querido amigo, querida amiga, gracias por estar con nosotros en este espacio, en este video, sea que lo veas en Facebook, en nuestra página de Facebook, o que lo veas en YouTube, o quizás en nuestra página en línea www.hacdicho.org. Una vez más, gracias por acompañarnos. En esta ocasión, quiero hablarte sobre el cientificismo, es decir, la tendencia actual que los hombres de ciencia están siguiendo, y esta es de darle un valor excesivo a las nociones científicas. Dicho de otra manera, es exaltar la ciencia o las teorías científicas por encima de cualquier otro tipo de conocimiento, y en este caso es específicamente la religión o la fe. Hoy en día ya ni siquiera se dice ciencia versus fe, sino se dice razón versus fe. Es decir, que la fe o las creencias religiosas que tú y yo tenemos, basados en un libro llamado Biblia, están siendo comparadas con lo ilógico, lo irracional, lo que no tiene ningún tipo de cordura. En el cientificismo, los hombres de ciencia del día de hoy ponen toda su confianza. Teorías como la teoría del Big Bang, la teoría de la evolución, la teoría de la relatividad espacial, entre otras, son enseñadas desde las escuelas primarias hasta el nivel universitario como si fueran hechos factuales, como si son hechos científicos. Sin embargo, estas teorías son solo eso, son solo teorías. No hay forma de probar que ellas sean ciertas. Pero no obstante a eso, hoy se da por sentado que estas teorías son el verdadero conocimiento. Es decir, que el origen o los orígenes de la Tierra y el universo, como son presentados en la Biblia, según el cientificismo, eso no tiene ninguna relevancia, sino que los hombres de ciencia de hoy sencillamente consideran que estos son mitos y leyendas de culturas ignorantes. Diferentes científicos en el día de hoy no ocultan para nada su desagrado con la religión o las creencias religiosas. Uno de ellos es Richard Dawkins, quien inclusive grabó un documental titulado La raíz de todo mal. Compara la fe con un virus. Aquí te dejo un extracto para que veas de qué se trata.
How do we explain the mysteries of life? Science has steadily overturned old religious myths about how all this came to be. Yet those who adhere to Judaism, Christianity, or Islam still prefer to ignore reason and have faith in their forever unprovable, omniscient Creator.
The devil's not coming in the blood. The devil have called that person from under the blood.
For example, when I became a Christian, I had a hard time obeying my parents. Seems
I had thought science was rolling back religious belief, but I was wrong. Far from being beaten, militant faith is on the march all across the world, with terrifying consequences. As a scientist, I'm increasingly worried about how faith is undermining science. It's something we must resist, because irrational faith is feeding murderous intolerance throughout the world.
In this program, I want to examine two further problems with religion. I believe it can lead to a warped and inflexible morality, and I'm very concerned about the religious indoctrination of children.
I want to show how faith acts like a virus that attacks the young and infects generation after generation.
I believe in a lawgiver, a God right there, actually not behind it, right imminent here, right now.
I want to ask whether ancient mythology should be taught as truth in schools.
Professor Dawkins, I'm very impressed that you're the new Messiah, and I appreciate your desire to redeem the world.
It's time to question the abuse of childhood innocence with superstitious ideas of hellfire and damnation.
I would rather for them to understand that hell is a place that they absolutely do not want to go.
This one would have been a preacher. Now they'll never hear his voice.
and I want to show how the scriptural roots of the Judeo-Christian moral edifice are cruel and brutish.
What in the 21st century are we doing, venerating a book that contains such stuff?
Science weighs up evidence and advances. Religion is hidebound belief for belief's sake. It's bad for our children, and it's bad for you.
En su página de la internet, el doctor Dawkins dice: nuestra misión es apoyar la educación científica, el pensamiento crítico y el entendimiento del mundo natural basado en la evidencia, con el fin de superar a la superstición, la intolerancia, el fundamentalismo religioso y el sufrimiento humano. Lo interesante de este documental es que cuando lo analizamos con detenimiento, vemos que Dawkins basó sus conclusiones en las conversaciones que tuvo con personas que tienen nociones erradas de lo que la Biblia dice. Además, puedo también decir que las personas con las que él habló son personas que, al parecer, tienden a irse a los extremos. La descripción que el doctor Dawkins hace de Dios es bastante interesante. Él dice: el Dios del Antiguo Testamento es posiblemente el personaje más molesto de toda la ficción, celoso y orgulloso de serlo, un mezquino, injusto e implacable monstruo, un ser vengativo, sediento de sangre y limpiador étnico, un misógino, homófobo, racista, infanticida, genocida, filicida, pestilente, megalómano, sadomasoquista y un matón caprichosamente malévolo. Creo que la posición de este científico es bastante clara. Otro científico muy renombrado en la actualidad es Stephen Hawking, quien, a pesar de padecer una extraña enfermedad, es una de las mentes, entre comillas, pongo eso entre comillas, más brillantes de la ciencia moderna. Aquí te dejo un pequeño clip donde él mismo habla de su padecimiento.
I was told I had an incurable disabling disease that would kill me in 2 or 3 years. The doctors were wrong about that.
Great world black holes shun radiant if they aren't extreme, but slowly.
At Cambridge, I mentor a new generation of cosmology. I have lost the use of almost all my muscles. My cheek muscle remains strong, because the nerve connecting it to the brain is short. I communicate by moving a cheek muscle, which is detected by a sensor on my glasses. That feeds to a keyboard emulator program on a tablet computer. With them, I can speak with a voice synthesizer, and do anything anyone else can do with a computer.
Lo que este hombre dice en el día de hoy es considerado como verdad absoluta. Y una de las cosas que él ha dicho es que no debemos creer en Dios, no existe Dios. El universo se crea a sí mismo y que aquellos que creen en el cielo sencillamente son esas personas que tienen miedo a la oscuridad. Hay otros hombres de ciencia, sin embargo, que tratan de explicar a Dios a través de la misma ciencia. Uno de ellos es Michio Kaku, y aquí te pongo un pequeño video donde él habla lo que Albert Einstein creía que era Dios.
Einstein was asked the big question, is there a God? Is there a meaning to everything, right?
Right.
And here's how Einstein answered the question. He said, there really are 2 kinds of gods. We have to be very scientific. We have to define what you mean by God. If God is the God of intervention, the personal God, the God of prayer, the God that parts the waters, then he had a hard time believing in that. Would God listen to all our prayers for a bicycle for Christmas and smite the Philistines for me, please?
Right.
He didn't think so. However, he believed in the God of order, harmony, beauty, simplicity, and elegance, the God of Spinoza. That's the God that he believed in, because he thought the universe was so gorgeous. It didn't have to be that way. It could have been chaotic. It could have been ugly, messy. But here we have the fact that all the equations of physics can be placed on a simple sheet of paper.
Right.
Einstein's equation is only 1 inch long.
Hay otros científicos que son muy claros a la hora de decir que la ciencia y la fe, o la razón y la fe en este caso, no son compatibles. Uno de ellos es Neil deGrasse Tyson, creo que así se pronuncia su nombre. Nota lo que él dijo en una de sus entrevistas.
You give people who make this case that was the beginning and that there had to be something that provoked the beginning, do you give them an A at least for trying to reconcile faith and reason?
I don't think they're reconcilable.
What do you mean?
Well, so let me say that differently. All efforts that have been invested by brilliant people of the past have failed at that exercise. They just fail. And so the track record is so poor that going forward I have essentially zero confidence, near zero confidence that there will be fruitful things to emerge from the effort to reconcile them. So, for example, if you knew nothing about science and you read, say, the Bible, the Old Testament, which in Genesis is an account of nature. That's what that is. And I said to you, give me your description of the natural world based only on this. You would say the world was created in 6 days and that stars are just little points of light, much lesser than the sun. And in fact, they can fall out of the sky, right? Because that's what happens during the Revelation. One of the signs that the second coming is that the stars will fall out of the sky and land on earth. To even write that means you don't know what those things are. You have no concept of what the actual universe is. So everybody who tried to make proclamations about the physical universe based on Bible passages got the wrong answer. So what happened was, when science discovers things and you want to stay religious, or you want to continue to believe that the Bible is unerring, what you would do is, you would say, well, let me go back to the Bible and reinterpret it. Then you'd say things like, oh, they didn't really mean that literally, they meant that figuratively. So this whole sort of reinterpretation of how figurative the poetic passages of the Bible are came after science showed that this is not how things unfolded. And so the educated religious people are perfectly fine with that. It's the fundamentalists who want to say that the Bible is the literal truth of God and want to see the Bible as a science textbook, who are knocking on the science doors of the schools trying to put that content in the science. Enlightened religious people are not behaving that way. They're saying, yes, science is cool, we're good with that, and use the Bible to get your spiritual enlightenment and your emotional fulfillment.
I have known serious religious people, not fundamental.
Este hombre, que es muy conocido en el día de hoy y que cuando habla tiene mucho peso en lo que dice, él no es tan drástico a la hora de hablar o tan directo como lo es Richard Dawkins, quien ataca la religión claramente. Este hombre tiene una postura más jovial, más risueña, pero sin embargo, también una de sus funciones en el día de hoy, uno de sus objetivos es destruir la religión. En varios videos, él no disimula para nada su creencia opuesta a la fe o a la religión. Una vez se le preguntó a él si creía en Dios. He aquí su respuesta.
You have great reverence and awe for the universe. I'm wondering if you believe in God or a higher power of some form.
I've spoken with people who have had deep religious experiences, and there's a certain vocabulary that they draw from. They talk about majesty and being humbled and being awed. And I look at the universe and I'm using all their same vocabulary. And I feel sort of energized and lifted. I wonder if it's stimulating the same part of the brain. This is a question I've actually formally posed to neuroscientists to sort of check this out. These are the folks that have put electrodes in your brain and see what excites one region versus another. Every account of a higher power that I've seen described of all religions, okay, that I have seen, include many statements with regard to the benevolence of that higher power. And when I look at the universe and all the ways the universe wants to kill us, I find it hard to reconcile that with statements of beneficence. So, personally, it's hard for me to make that connection. That being said, there's about 40% of American scientists pray to a personal God. So empirically, to be a scientist is not the same thing as to be an atheist. Empirically, because we have 40%. Now, depending on which scientific discipline you ask, that percent will be different, but it averages to 40. In the general American public, the number is up around 90. So there is a difference between the general public and scientists. But those scientists, just to make it clear, who are productive as scientists are not getting their science out of the Bible. What Galileo noted 400 years ago, he was the first to really make this observation of things. He said, after careful study of the Bible and after careful study of the universe, he concluded, the Bible tells you how to go to heaven, not how the heavens go.
Aunque hoy en día una gran mayoría de científicos abrazan el cientificismo y desacreditan las creencias religiosas, en este caso las nuestras cristianas, las convicciones cristianas, hay otros que son sinceros y que siguen sus investigaciones hasta donde ellas conducen o hasta donde ellas llevan. Es a saber, a la existencia de un ser inteligente, un ser supremo, quien está al tanto de todas las cosas. Aquí te dejo, para finalizar, un ejemplo de uno de ellos.
On those terms, even when compared to the billions of suns and possible planets in our Milky Way galaxy, the probability of even a single habitable world appears unlikely.
There are many probabilistic resources in the galaxy, but on the other side of the coin are all these factors that you need. You have to get just right in order to have just one habitable planet like the Earth. And that leads me to conclude that yes, we're rare in the galaxy.
Gonzalez's study of the Earth's habitability led him and colleague Jay Richards to expand the scope of their research. They began to examine how a life-sustaining planet like Earth may also give its human inhabitants access to the mysteries of the universe.
I don't think there has ever been a time in the history of the human race in which at least some people haven't contemplated these questions. We ask, why can we see distant galaxies, millions of light years away in the universe? Why can we postulate what's going on inside atoms or inside black holes? Why are we able to discover things about the universe, to answer questions about its age? For most scientific discoveries that we're able to make, these sorts of things can't be explained in terms of the survival of the fittest of our distant ancestors. Not only our ability to do science, but the openness of the natural world to science just completely outstrips the sort of reductionist and Darwinian explanations that we're used to.
In response to this evidence, Richards and Gonzalez have argued that our ability to make scientific discoveries is no fluke or accident. Instead, it points to an underlying purpose behind the universe. It is actually designed for discovery.
Guillermo Gonzalez and I spent several years pursuing a hypothesis that those rare things that life needs in a planetary environment, those things that make a planet habitable, also set up the best set of conditions overall for scientific discovery.
There are many examples of this correlation, including our planet's oxygen-rich atmosphere, both a critical requirement for our survival and a transparent window that allows us to explore the distant universe. The Earth's precise distance from the Sun and the size of its moon and home star. These factors not only control our planet's temperature, axial tilt, and the movement of its tides, they also ensure perfect solar eclipses, phenomena that have provided scientists with invaluable data about the composition of stars and the properties of light. and our location in the Milky Way. The Earth is positioned between two spiral arms within a relatively small region where life is possible. As a result, we enjoy an excellent platform for clear, unimpeded views of our galaxy and the rest of the cosmos.
I think God intentionally created a habitat for us that allows us to see Him through the creation that He has left behind. And this habitat is conducive for us to do scientific research. It didn't have to be that way, but it is. Why? Because I believe that by doing science, we find God.